Penguin Random House Canada presents Want: Women's Fantasies in the 21st Century. Submitted by Anonymous, collected by Gillian Anderson. Read for you by Gillian Anderson and an anonymous cast of women. Introduction. I was barely 5 years old in 1973 when the novelist Nancy Friday's cult classic My Secret Garden, Women's Sexual Fantasies, made its way onto the bookshelves and into the handbags of women in the US. Just 7 when it reached the women of Middle England. My Secret Garden was proof that women enjoyed as rich and diverse an erotic inner life as men. Finally, here was a book in which ordinary women, young and old, quote-unquote, you, me, and our next-door neighbour, were talking honestly about arousal, masturbation, sexual dreams, and desires. In their minds, nothing was off-limits. What Friday's book revealed was that for some of us, the sex we have in our head may be more stimulating than the physical nuts and bolts of any coupling, no matter how hot. Unconstrained by assumed social conventions, self-consciousness, or perhaps the fear of making our partners uncomfortable, in our imaginations we can indulge in our deepest, most transgressive desires. It was provocative, even revolutionary at the start, and then it became required reading, a multi-million-copy global bestseller. I don't know if my computer analyst mother owned a copy of Friday's book. Ours certainly wasn't a puritanical household where such reading matter would have been frowned upon, but as liberal as my childhood was, it wouldn't have been something that Mom left lying about on the coffee table. When I was a teenager, I once found a copy of Story of O, the infamous French erotic novel by Anne Declos, tucked behind a sofa cushion in our neighbour's house, and I definitely turned a few pages. And, as a much younger child, I remember wandering into a living room where someone had left the TV on, and standing paralysed in fascination as the on-screen couple engaged in quite chaste but clearly illicit activities. I can still recall my red-hot cheeks, quickened heartbeat, and palpable rising shame. I read My Secret Garden for the first time when I was preparing for my role as the sex therapist Dr. Jean Milburn in the TV series Sex Education. The letters and interviews were astonishingly intimate and very raw. Their unfiltered and painful honesty shook me. They weren't polished or trying to be literary. They seemed to come straight from the mysterious heart of women's innermost yearning. The human imagination has few limits, and our sexual desires and fantasies are no different, yet are still treated as taboo. Friday conceived the book as a response to a male editor's objection to an erotic fantasy in one of her novels. A response considered so dangerous it was banned in the Republic of Ireland. Bringing female fantasies into the open also brought up contentious questions. Did women want to act on these imaginings? What did it mean to have a fantasy that was unusual, forbidden, or even illegal? What might it tell us about the established gender roles that had been foisted upon women? So much has changed in our social and sexual relations in the 50 years since My Secret Garden was first published. Have women's deepest internal desires also changed? I am a woman, with a sex life and fantasies of my own. And I was curious to know the ways in which a diverse group of other women's fantasies were similar to or different from mine. The book you are listening to started as an invitation to women across the globe. Dear Gillian was a call for women to share the sexual fantasies, thoughts and feelings that so many of us hold in our heads but so rarely speak out loud. A chance to gather the voices of women worldwide into a new book of fantasies for a new generation. My publishers set up a portal where the letters could be sent anonymously, and we waited. We had so many questions. Might women find something interesting or erotic in putting pen to paper and sharing their inner thoughts with others? Indeed, what would change as we made the intrinsically private public? How would people respond? At the close of the submission deadline, the combined letters counted 800,000 words. We had received enough entries to fill at least 8 volumes. Clearly, there was a need. The call for letters unleashed a torrent of frank, candid, heartbreaking, funny, and downright raunchy outpourings, which highlighted fantasies as rich and varied as the authors themselves. Letters from women who had never articulated, either out loud or on paper, their sexual secrets to anyone before, save for the odd morsel they let slip over drinks with a close friend or in the heat of the moment with a partner. It was obvious that participating in Dear Gillian was, for them, a process that felt both liberating and illicit. They were letters from teenage girls yet to have their first sexual encounter, from single women caught in the endless cycle of online hookups and one-night stands, exhausted women with young children, married women or those with long-term partners frustrated with the same old, transgender women and people who identify as non-binary, and women in their 60s and 70s finding that there's much to shout about in post-menopausal sex. Here were letters from women all over the world, from Colombia to China, Ireland to Iceland, Lithuania to Libya, New Zealand to Nigeria, Romania to Russia. Letters from women who are pansexual, bisexual, asexual, aromantic, lesbian, straight, and queer. As a society, we habitually put women into boxes, limiting and constraining their identities and roles. The enticing sexual partner, the caring mother, the smart career woman, and yet what these fantasies demonstrate is that no woman has one sole identity. I wanted to challenge the categorizations that women are forced into. And yet, a book must have structure and order. It made the process of putting the book together both challenging and fascinating. I found huge pleasure in the process of juxtaposing the letters, creating a system, and watching it take shape in a kind of rhythm that at times felt poetic. The submissions have also made me consider my own identity. The labels of actor, mother, partner, activist, American/British woman. And so, with this in mind, and in the spirit of this project, I too submitted my own letter to the book. I was curious to see how it fitted in. Would it blend in naturally and, though we will never know, would it match people's assumptions about me? For me, sex has never felt like a static entity, but rather something that adapts and changes as I grow and change, with every new phase and stage of my life. A huge part of this has always been in the thinking and the feeling, not just the doing. As an actor, there is an inherent permission at the core of my job.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?